Welcome back to Tabletopped, everyone. This week we have a little bit of a bonus episode for you. It's a little segment we're calling Under the Bed. We're going to start looking into specific, really cool monsters that we really love using. This is specifically for D&D players, so if you're not a D&D player, well, still listen. It might be cool. You might be eventually interested in playing. So this week we're going to start in with the Beholder, so I hope you enjoy the show. Hey, guys.
Hey, buddy.
So you guys are my favorite DMs. Don't tell Franco. No, I'm just kidding. Everyone, all of you are my favorite DMs. But I wanted to get you guys together and talk about a monster that I think in campaigns I've been in with you, you have both run Beholders as major enemies at some point. And you guys, I mean, in the Canaries arc, my first campaign, the Beholder was the big evil guy of the first arc.
He actually wasn't.
Well, he became it.
He was a one-off.
Yeah.
That I was just going to have like in the background as sort of like, hey, there's threats around the world. But you guys honed in on a Beholder, and I had to write a whole other thing so that you guys could actually focus on it more.
And you know what? I think it's because a Beholder is just a really cool enemy. Thus, what we're talking about today. Beholders. Running them. What are they? How to use them. And pitfalls to stay away from. So you guys have been doing me a huge favor and kind of researching into the Beholder a little bit. So why don't you just start us off with what is a Beholder if people don't know?
So a Beholder is a very specific monster to TSR, Wizards of the Coast. They've created it, and it's only ever appeared in, like, I think things that they own.
Yeah, I'm not aware of Beholders appearing outside of D&D products.
So step one in their alien sort of existence, they're very rare. God, what was your question again? Sorry, my ADD
what
just like
are
went
they?
straight
So,
off.
You hit the nail on the head there, though, Daniel, because they are alien. Beholders are aberrations. They dream themselves and each other into existence. They're selfish. They're vain. They're paranoid. Horrible creatures.
And you can really get lost in their eyes.
Absolutely. They've got a number of eyes. They've got one big eye that's right in the center of their beach ball body, and then a number of eye stalks that shoot deadly rays of doom at you.
And fun fact, and this is going to come up later, they float.
They do float, yeah. They just kind of float there. They're weird and wonderful, and historically they are lawful evil. But they're not always evil. There are examples of non-evil Beholders out there. There's Luigi, who exists in the Spelljammer verse, I believe, and is a kind of good guy. But then you have your classic evil Xanathar, for example.
Right, the Waterdeep Beholder, kind of a big deal there. You ran a Xanathar encounter for us.
I did. So unlike your Beholder, he was intended to be the main villain, so to speak, but the Waterdeep campaign doesn't really get to the main villain if you just follow it to the letter until kind of later in the process. You can insert it earlier, but I chose not to. I wanted them to just kind of loom. But some of the pitfalls of running them, they are meant to be alien. You have to kind of strike a balance, in my personal opinion, of making them strange and unknowable, but also still making them something that your players can relate to.
They have some pretty specific personality traits that you can delve into. 12.
Yes, it's when it's when you dive down and live in it.
Yeah, great.
All right, we're gonna stop every time I mispronounce a word. We're not gonna get through anything. You can delve into the Beholder's sort of odd personality quirks. They're arrogant, xenophobic, and isolationist in such a way. The beholder that I ran was a creature called Goldrag. And in the sort of campaign we were running, it was very like guild heavy situation. So Goldrag himself was trying to start his own guild to sort of operate within the parameters of the world structure, but still make like a wealth for himself.
Yeah, that's something that I really like about beholders that I've encountered with you guys, and amongst other, campaigns or whatever, is that they're alien in how they think, but their methodology for getting what they want is fairly human and understandable, and so it makes for like a really good sort of like political intrigue villain, or even just something sort of that gets your campaign to a larger threat as well, because it's like, hey, a great stepping stone, this thing that you can kind of deal with and understand before you deal with like the ice god who is going to freeze the entirety of the world.
A classic step to villain domination practices.
Yeah. I mean, and they are kind of mid-tier as far as CRs go. They're a CR 13 in 5e, which, that's going to be your level 10s, your level 12s.
And some variants that you can get kind of a little bit lesser that still play off the same themes.
That's true, because there are other types of beholders like eye tyrants and, the little gazers.
The gazers, they're so cute.
Yeah.
If Wizards of the Coast wants to make $1,100, they need to make those little stress balls, but with like a beholder, so that all the little eyes will pop out.
They must have, or I bet you can get it somewhere.
Find it for me.
Look on the tabletop store. No, I'm just kidding. So we don't have licensing for that. But they're really mechanically interesting as well. As we noted, they have a fly speed. They hover only 20 feet, so they're not very fast, but they don't need to be.
But fun to put them in places you wouldn't expect to see a threat coming from, such as in the roof, dark places, or in a labyrinth full of pit traps, because they don't give a fuck if they're floating.
Yeah.
All the floor will fall off.
They can do whatever they want. They have a few things. So we mentioned they have that big eye in the center of their body. That's an eye that puts out an anti-magic cone. So if you're in 150 feet of its vision, at the start of its turns, it decides which way it faces, and no one's gonna have magical abilities in that line of sight.
Definitely have it stare at the healer.
Yep.
Just nonstop. Don't even make it like shift its gaze.
Yeah. It somehow knows that that's the cleric or the druid or the paladin or the bard, and it's going to look at it.
Wow, there's a lot of healing classes.
Yeah, honestly, you can heal with just about everything except for, like, fighters.
Second wind, right?
Well, yeah, they can heal themselves. Yeah. You can heal other people with a lot of classes, in 5e at least. But they also have eye raise, so they have all these eye stalks. They have a bite attack, but come on, you're not going to bite with it. Let's be honest.
That's like if they get super desperate.
Yeah.
I think just because they have teeth, was like, we have to give them a bite attack.
Yeah.
What are they going to do with those chompers? Not bite things?
Right.
I mean, obviously they're not going to. They have 8 eye rays. One of them's a death ray.
Yeah.
Like science fiction Mad Men type thing. So,
yeah.
no, not going to use the bite.
Exactly. So they, they have the choice to either bite or use their eye rays, where they shoot 3 of the following magic eye rays at random and re-roll duplicates. So this is one of the few monsters that actually in 5e has a table built in. And one of the things, some DMs may be kind of adverse to tables. Some really love tables. This is a table I really recommend rolling on. I have done beholders in the past where I just kind of went with the flow, and it did not feel as good because I would have this moment of, am I being too hard on them? Am I being too soft on them? Just roll it. It's random, and the dice decide.
A beholder should really be a disco rave ball of death.
I also think that because they're like so alien and you're not supposed to understand how they're thinking and why they're doing the attacks that they're doing, it can also be like a great lead into Shade knows that I love cosmic forces, but it can be like a great messenger of some sort of more unthinkable being and why it's doing something and like why it does things the way it does things, including maybe not killing your players when it has the chance, could all be in line with some sort of greater plan or skewed way of thinking that an alternate planner entity is,
Yeah, and there's a lot of like just right off the top, like maybe it doesn't want to kill the party because it can't prove it's better than a dead opponent, so it just wants to prove that it's more powerful without killing anything, or it's got plans to use the party members for its own plot devices later on in the campaign. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're very high level thinking creatures, and with all their self-absorption, you can have them be arrogant and kind of underestimate. They're the perfect enemy to kind of go, I'm going to let you live because it benefits me, and it won't come back to bite me in my non-existent ass, but we'll call it an ass. They work really well for that. But
stay tuned to my art channel for Beholder ass pics.
My non-existent ass.
No,
that's another podcast.
You got to get excited about this, folks. He's drawn some really great Beholder asses that you just need to, behold.
You better make this a reality, Daniel. People want it.
It's by the time this airs, I'll have a Beholder ass cheeks thing on my Twitter, at Coronor on Twitter.
So let's just real quick dive into the 10 actually eye rays that it has. It has a charm ray. So it's does what it says on the 10. It charms the target. It's a wisdom save. And they have a paralyzing ray. Again, what it says on the 10. Fear ray. I bet you can't guess what that does. Slowing ray, also pretty straightforward. And then Innervation ray. Now that's one that some may may not know off the top. That's just going to do some necrotic damage. 8d8 specifically on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one, which is an average of 36. It's a DC 16 con save, which, not really the hardest save to make, but for some characters, like most of mine, it is.
No, 16 I'd say is pretty...
It's fair.
I think the official rules, 15 is what, a medium?
Daniel, just for the folks at home so that they know, Daniel has sort of a skewed way of thinking about player success rates, having just been in a session where he straight up murdered somebody.
Having been on his murdering ends, I'm going to say that I think Daniel's got a pretty okay view of it.
His murdering end is another podcast that we could make too.
Players that I've murdered are very... I'm not even going to...
Player characters.
Player characters that have died in my campaigns are relatively low compared to the number of sessions that I've actually run per campaign.
Absolutely.
So I just want to go ahead and get ahead of the slander.
The reason for that, dear listeners, is because he usually does most of his murdering within the first 5 sessions of a campaign. So yes, they are, fairly low in percentage, but if
first
you can survive the first 5,
is squishy.
I'm on your side here, Daniel. But it hurts, Anyway, so Telekinetic ray, if the target's a creature, it must succeed a DC 16 strength save. That might be a little trickier, especially if you've got some wizards in the party. Or the beholder can just move it 30 feet in any direction.
Which is great for fall damage. Remember, they can go straight up.
Yep, absolutely. There's a bit more to that, but we're not going to dive too... they can lift objects. So another thing you could do with it, maybe put an object over a player's head.
Here's a question, since we've got the stat block up. Yeah. And I'm just playing with ideas in my head. So the telekinetic ray moves a creature 30 feet, right?
Yep.
Is it considered restrained?
Yes, it is, actually. It is restrained by the ray's telekinetic grip until the start of the beholder's next turn or until the beholder is incapacitated.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, a restrained creature moves with the creature that's restraining it. That's correct?
If it's grappled. A restrained creature just can't move. Its speed becomes 0, and attack rolls against it have advantage.
So this... Again, I was thinking, a 25 movement speed, just float up and then move it 30. Get a couple of 2 more D6s to that fall drop, but that's not going to work on this one because it's going to stay put.
But you can, if the target is an object weighing 300 pounds or less that isn't being worn or carried, it's moved up to 30 feet in any direction. The beholder can also exert fine control on objects with this ray, such as manipulating a simple tool or opening a door or container. So this is like how, it's opening doors.
This is how it's how it has hands.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the hands of the beholder.
But, if you are thinking like Daniel was, how can I kill that squishy player with this by moving it around? Maybe move a 300-pound object above their head.
Ooh, how much damage would that do?
That is a good question that I didn't really prepare for. Yeah.
Let's call it 1d8 per 50 pounds of a dropped object. I think that's fair.
Yep, so this is actually a great thing. There are specific rules in the DMG about this, and it's one of those things that I have to look up every time it comes up. I just can't commit it to memory. But as Daniel's just pointed out, you just decide in the moment, and that's often a lot better.
That's called good DMing, everyone.
That's
you just
right.
make up a rule set that sounds kind of good.
So if a DM or somebody wants to put one of these in a campaign, how would you recommend using, just like spitball some pre-ideas and pre-made ideas, and get some folks rolling on how you would use these things?
Definitely the mastermind behind some secret enterprise. They're not going to want to be front and center. They don't really like to come out in public. So they're great for your power behind the curtain type deal.
Yeah, that's always a good one, and my dinner is ready. I apologize, everyone. But another good thing to do, Daniel, you actually kind of said this a little bit ago, just have them stumble on one. Have them out in, maybe you've got some exploration time. Have them stumble across a cave, and it looks weird because beholder tunnels are not normal. They're not meant to look like things that are natural that you would normally come across. That's going to pique the party's interest. And then they go through, and there's traps in this place for some reason. And then as they fall into the spikes, they look up, and there's a beholder above them, laughing maniacally, shooting death rays at them. That's an evil way to do it.
I love
but it'd
that.
be a lot of fun.
Surprise beholder.
Yeah, surprise beholder. And then you can also play with some of the variants. So there are, maybe you're doing mind flayers. There are actually beholders who have essentially been lobotomized by mind flayers and are used as kind of like relay networks and things like that. So those are fun.
A little
Mind
beholder
witnesses,
satellite radio.
Yeah, mind witnesses. Look those up.
Also, if you don't want to go straight into every monster has to be a combat thing.
Right.
Beholders also might want to be acquiring some sort of magic item that the PCs are also after, and you can make them deal with it sort of politically or just socially instead of going straight combat.
Yeah, they're a fantastic NPC monster, much like dragons. I think that makes a few things. Gosh, the only other thing I'll say, because I didn't note them, they have a sleep ray, a petrification ray, a disintegration ray, so, it casts disintegrate, and a death ray. Those are all, again, pretty straightforward and copied right off of spells. They can't shoot 3 of the same ray at the same time. Again, roll those tables. Do not randomly select it unless you really need a powerful story moment.
All right. Well, I think, how to use it. We talked about their personality. I think we can put this one back under the bed for the time.
All right,
being.
you get under there. Get under there. Come on. Stop fighting. You're not supposed to use that attack.
Well, thank you, everybody, for this episode, this bonus episode of Tabletopped. You can always, subscribe, give us 5 stars on Apple would be the best one to give us that 5-star rating on, but any of them. And you can always follow us on Twitter at Tabletopped. And if you have any questions or have a monster you want us to review, send an email or DM us. Our email is at tabletoppedpodcast@gmail.com. So as always, thank you so much, guys, for talking with me about this stuff.
Well, thank you.
You're very welcome.
All right, bye.